Hello and welcome back to a bit more Elite Dangerous. I did consider doing some warships this evening and tried playing one or two games, but frankly I'm playing rubbish at the moment, so I decided to do something a bit more relaxed. I am hopefully going to be a bit more compost mentis than I was the other day, though. It was quite a significant fail at the end of that last Elite Dangerous stream where I couldn't even read the words that were on the screen, apparently. So I've done a bit of mining since the last stream. I've decked out a ship to do that. I vaguely know what I'm doing, and it's also, I think, just about one of the most lucrative things you can do in Elite Dangerous at the moment. And it's already, the proceeds have already paid for this ship here, if I can flick through to the front view. A Crate Mark II, which is one of the more interesting looking ships. That paint scheme, by the way, apparently that was a freebie one they gave away. Not the Christmas that's just gone, but the Christmas before, I think. And I hadn't played long enough that it was a bit of a surprise to find it. It's, I guess, supposed to be a sort of wrapping paper theme, but I don't know. That doesn't really say wrapping paper to me. It doesn't really say Christmas. But apparently that's what it was for. So fortunately for me, there's a reasonable spot to go mining right here in the system where the squadron is based. Although, basically, it's anywhere with either an asteroid field or a gas giant. But the stuff I'm after, you have to find in the rings of a gas giant. But gas giants are fairly common, so it's not too difficult to find them. And I'm not going to be doing the full steps either, because I've already scanned this gas giant. So this isn't me, you know, making a guide or anything. There are plenty of good ones out there on YouTube already for this sort of thing. But you might pick up a little bit along the way, I don't know. So we're not really going to be jumping anywhere to begin with, although I might jump somewhere, depending on how long the actual mining takes, in order to sell my proceeds. Oh yeah, we're a bit close yet, so let's open up the system view. No, I keep doing that, and I don't mean to. So it's actually the planet that this station is orbiting. And we don't even really need to lock it, because I'll just need to go into Super Cruise and point myself at the planet, and then I'll be able to aim at the particular mining places, the hot spots as they're called, to get what I want. So I just need to climb up above the plane of this system a little bit first. And should be bringing myself around in the right direction. There we go. So yeah, this is a gas giant with a ring. I should qualify gas giant with a ring, not just a gas giant. I think a lot of systems have also just a normal asteroid belt as well, but it's the gas giant mining that's by far the most lucrative. Right, so I think I need to be in the right scanner mode. There we go, analysis mode, which has lit up the previously scanned ring system, and it actually pops up in your contact, your navigation list as well. And we're going to go for, I guess, the Void Opal hotspot. They're the most lucrative, followed by low temperature diamonds, and I think there's one of the minerals that you can extract as well that that also can go for above 1 million credits a ton. But the Void Opals will sell for over 1.6 million. So those are what you want to go for. Oh, I've just realised something. Herpaderp. Yeah, I am missing a vital component, so bear with me. We're starting off well. For goodness sake. I keep bringing the external view up when I mean to bring this view up. Right, yeah, I'm missing a thing. I forgot to load any limpets. I got so caught up in, you know, getting the stream started up that I then forgot about what I actually needed to do to mine. Yeah, you need little disposable limpet drones. Both to prospect likely looking chunks of ice and also then to do the collection of the materials. You can scoop up the fragments yourself via the classic method of just popping over your cargo hatch, but it's a lot easier to have the little drones do it for you, because they the little fragments of material that you're collecting do expire, which doesn't particularly make sense, but you know, it's a gameplay mechanic rather than one that makes sense as a representation of any kind of real life anything. So yeah, herpaderp. Whoops, never mind. I started off doing my first mining in the keelback actually, which is I think one of the cheapest ships that you can practically do it in, or practicably do it in, but you end up very squeezed for space. The Asp Explorer, it costs about twice as much, but that's probably the first of the more practical ships to do mining in, because, well, you can do mining. There's various kinds of mining, but the kind of mining I'm interested in, the kind that's the most profitable, the kind where you blow apart the chunks of ice or asteroids or whatever you happen to be mining. You need a particularly kind of launcher for that, a mining charge launcher, and you can't fit that onto most of the smaller ships because it needs a size 2 weapon mount. So you get some of the earlier ships, like for instance the Type 6, which in terms of the spaces they have and and I've forgotten to. So, you know, I thought I would be doing better for brain power today, but I'm really not, apparently. Right, how am I stuck? Let's try popping the landing gear. Sometimes that helps. No, if I can't get out of this, it'll blow me to bits. Here we go. I think I had a ship behind me trying to push in. That didn't help. So yeah, the Type 6 would do beautifully, except it's not got any size 2 weapon mounts. Hey, Sergeant Cruel. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't say. I should have looked at the chat earlier. Yeah, how are you doing? How have you been getting on?
Unable to grant request.
A couple of seconds before I can request docking. Yeah, this is. You can see why I was maybe not doing so well in World of Warships, which requires a bit more brain power. I think I've not had more than 1 or 2 days, the last getting on for over 2 weeks now, where I've been able to be fully properly awake before midday. It's something like 2 mornings where I've actually seen some of the morning, and the rest of it I've just been, I don't know, befuddled or half asleep or whatever because of the medication I'm on. I don't think this is going to be the meds that I stay with, because I'm just consistently losing my mornings, and it doesn't matter when I go to bed either. So yeah, it's just, it has a knock-on effect on the whole day, and it's rather annoying. It's not exactly doing wonders for my concentration levels. Hey, little Mark. So even just on the basis of, you know, not being particularly viable for my chosen mode of doing business, of making money. Right. Pay the fine, and let's actually What do we need? Stocking. Limpets, yes. Which is, I think, an advanced maintenance. Restock. Limpets. Here we go. Limpet control. 128 tons. That seems. Did I think I dumped. Yeah. I dropped the fuel scoop. Because I've mainly been flying this one within system or only hopping a couple of systems, so yeah, I was sure it was less than that before, but yeah. So yeah, these are cheap and cheerful. We'll fill up like half the hold. In fact, do we even need that many? Let's say 50 is a nice round number. Probably won't use that many. So you switch to doing cargo and passenger runs? Yeah, the sightseeing tours, especially the ones that require multiple hops, they can take a while. The Dolphin is a good ship for those because you can get quite a good jump range on the Dolphin. Or even sticking passenger cabins in a Type 6, I think you'd do alright. And once you start doing, even just getting the first one or two steps for the engineers, because getting the starting step for extending your frameshift drive range is not difficult at all. Yeah, it helps, but yeah, it can be time consuming. Yeah, I got a crate, Tommaso. I'm using this as my mining ship for the time being, but of course I can always respec it for something else later on. Swap the load out, maybe go off exploring with it a bit. I also bought the Type 9, which is my brain today. It's so ingrained, just so ingrained to follow the little dot that, of course, it's locked on the station. So I was just doing a loop. Right, we need to get out of mass lock range. There we go. So yeah, the Type 9 I bought just because there's no point having the Type 7 when I've got the money for the Type 9, so I sold the Type 7 and got the Type 9 and spent a while fitting that out properly, so that can now haul about 700 tons of cargo at a go. And I also put on the docking computer because I tried manual docking with it once or twice and it's a pain in the butt. Right, let's just head up. Yeah, I got the A spec or whatever you call it, frameshift drive for it, and they did the Class D thrusters. Right, here we go. Wait, am I above where I want to be? I'm not close enough for the actual... No. There we go. Yeah, I wasn't close enough for the actual hotspots to register. Got completely turned around there. Well, that's just how my brain's working this evening, apparently. How's the island? Cold. There's still a bit of snow on the ground, although most of it... Well, I don't know if most, but a lot of it melted during the day, but I suspect it will then freeze again overnight. It's gotten to that stage of being warm enough during the day and melting enough that parts of pavements are getting pretty slick and icy and dangerous. And of course it's going to make driving on the roads during the evening and night quite dangerous as well. So yeah, it's cold, mostly. Right, have I selected the right planet? No, I haven't. This is like a moon of the planet. Goodness sake, brain. Right, the fact that it wasn't a gas giant and had no rings, you know, eventually triggered my brain to go, oh yeah, no, that's not the right target. It's definitely still a work in progress. I mean, it's on the live server, but yeah, world warships and carriers. It's like, if nothing else, one thing I thought of like pretty much immediately was that they're going to have to rethink defensive AA. Like, they might have to go back to the old way where you basically had infinite defensives on a cruiser, because it's way too easy to get people to just trigger the defensive and you just instantly call back the squadron. You've lost a bit of time, but if they've only got, say, 3 defensive AAs available, then yeah. Right, Void Opals hotspot. We actually have the limpet drones this time, so we can actually do some mining. I have played a little bit since the patch, but only a little bit. But, you know, that one, that leapt out at me right away. Because if carriers can get pretty much infinite planes at this point, then I don't see why it's not reasonable to go back to having Atlanta-style defensive AA. Because you still have the cooldown, you still have to choose when to use it. It'll still be possible to bait people into using it and just calling the planes back, but yeah. And at the very least, even if they don't go for that, they'll have to bump up the base number of charges that you get in a cruiser, because it's way too low at the moment. I think there's also an element of it's a big change, and it's a big enough change that it's going to force people to play differently. So some of that will just take a while to shake out time-wise. But there are still things that definitely need to be worked on. Right, so we're in shadow at the moment. The planet itself is obscuring the sun, so I need to turn on night vision, which is just handy to turn on when you're prospecting anyway. And the other thing we need to hang around to do, I'd say no contacts in range, but I can clearly see a ship there. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, the other thing we need to do is wait for the game to throw a pirate at us, because it's scripted to have a pirate come scan you at some point. So the trick is to basically wait until they've scanned you, and if you've got an empty cargo hold, they'll just go meh and leave, and at that point it won't spawn anymore. Just occasionally you don't have a hostile ship spawning to come and scan you, but of course you could also just go and do what you're doing regardless, not let a ship or not bother about waiting for that, and as long as you're sufficiently armed, sufficiently confident, it won't matter too much. So we're looking for a particular kind of icy chunk. It's partly the shape, it's partly the colour, and then there's also some surface details that you're looking for as well. So that one there I think is the wrong shape. And it's also not really intense enough in terms of its colouring. So there's something a bit zen about mining, but it can also be a little... It's something, you know, it's not bad to do when you've got something on in the background to watch or listen to, which is mostly what I've been doing when I've been mining. But it can be quite time consuming in terms of there being large gaps between actually doing anything. but in terms of the time spent versus the profit to be made, it pretty much is the most profitable thing you can do. So yeah, we're looking for the highlighted asteroids. I keep calling them asteroids, but then the game keeps calling them asteroids, but they're not really asteroids. The ice ring chunks. Hey, Atam. Yeah, you need the collector drones, Sergeant Cruel. Trying to get each blasted off bit of material with the cargo scoop, that would get tedious. And you're also doing it in the confines of a ring, so you've got these icy chunks everywhere getting in your way. Did you buy the Asp Explorer, by the way, or are you still saving up for that? Well, that's a kind of an orangey one. I don't know. We'll check it out. I've got drones to spare, so if we waste a few on asteroids that turn out to be duds, it's fine. I'm not looking to stay out here till I've filled up my cargo hold. Usually my tolerance for doing this extends to, if I can get 3, 4, like 5 if I'm lucky, lucky strikes, then that's usually good enough for me. That might amount to half the cargo hold filled. You have Cobra Mark III. Weren't you saving for an ASP? Or am I thinking of somebody else who was asking in the in Clyde's Elite's Discord channel? I might be thinking of somebody else then. We were actually looking over the various ships. Like, you could theoretically do it in terms of the mount sizes. You could do it with ships like more combat-oriented ships like the Cobra or the Viper, but you tend then not to have enough. Like you have even more space issues than you do with the keelback. Because with the keelback, once you've properly fitted it out, you've got a single 32-ton cargo bay, and of course you also have to use that space for your limpets as well. So it really limits how long and how much you can collect, how long you can be out for. But it is doable with a keelback, but the Asp Explorer just has a bit more space. But the smaller combat ships, yeah, you're kind of then struggling to fit everything that you need in. But the Cobra Mark IV, which practically nobody has because it was like a Kickstarter backer reward ship, that's actually not bad in terms of the amount of space it has. Of course, it's not one that you can just go and buy, so if you don't have it, you don't have it. Yeah, if you get one of the ways you can stay out longer, and I don't know if you would get the correct materials in an icy ring, but in an asteroid field, iron and nickel will let your ship. I presume your ship just basically has like a 3D printer built in, and your ship will make the limpets while you are in situ. Which is, you know, if you're planning to stay out there for a really long time, then you can do it that way. You don't even have to take many limpets to begin with. But I don't know if you can find iron and nickel in these particular areas. It's actually harder to see with it being in the darkness. And also I found, at least for this planet, I've been here at this hotspot a couple of times, but I've also been to the low temperature diamond hotspot, and I actually had better results there in terms of finding the asteroids, but that could just be RNG. Right, I don't think this one is the right sort, but I'm not 100% certain. It's a little hard to tell. And of course I can turn on my ship's lights, but at this range... no, that's the wrong button. It's that button. Yeah, that just kind of washes it out. It's a lot easier when you've got that less strong illumination. I don't think this is the right sort though. You're looking for ones that are very kind of red-orange, like they're quite intensely red-orange. They kind of look like a hot coal. And it can take a while to find them. And you sometimes get false positives. You'll get ones that do have a core of material, but it's some other mineral. And they're quite sneaky. And it's not until you actually launch the prospector drone that you find out what they've got. Crashed into a quasar. Yeah, you have to be careful of those. They need a really wide berth. Right, that one's the wrong shape. And I think that one down there is the wrong shape as well. So you just kind of aimlessly drift around for a while, pinging away and looking for ones of the right colour. I'm not really seeing any. Not even any likely looking ones. One on the left, you reckon? Oh, yeah, that one's a slightly more intense colour down there. Right, that one, it's a bit on the small side, but it's the right kind of colour. I'm not sure it's got enough red to it, but we'll give it a closer inspection. I think it's the right sort of shape as well. Right, oh. Yeah, I'm not quite... I'm used to ships that accelerate and decelerate a little bit better, and this is a large class of ships, so it doesn't so much. Right, I'm not sure this one's quite the right colour, and I'm not seeing the main telltale, which is fissures, but sometimes it's quite hard to tell. I've had a couple of times where I've gone, oh, that doesn't really seem like it has the fissures. But I'll fire a prospector just in case, and then it turns out, yeah, it was the right sort. I don't think this is, but we'll fire a prospector just on the off chance. That's a little prospector limpet. I mean, it does have surface deposits, but that's not necessarily indicative of it having a core. So, yeah, that one isn't. Yeah, it's got water, a bit of bromelite, which I think doesn't sell for much. Lithium hydroxide water. I already said water, didn't I? But there are, you can get contracts that will say go out and mine X amount of this and X amount of that. But generally speaking, if you're going out mining, it seems like it's just a better use of your time to, because you've got to go and prospect and find the relevant chunks of ice anyway, so you might as well go for the ones that contain the best stuff. I mean, I'm not too fussed whether it's void opals or low temperature diamonds. I could bop over to that other hotspot and see if we have a higher rate of success. I mean, it might. The first time I went there, to the low temp diamonds hotspot, I did quite well, but it might just have been sheer blind luck. Because I don't know how much the game generates. Like, I don't know if it just kind of refreshes every time you go to a hotspot, or if planets can get gradually mined out of resources. Some of the minerals you can get, like last time I went mining, I ended up getting about 3 or 4 different kinds of stuff. Some of the minerals can be worth a fair bit if you take them to the right place. But the amount that I think I got like 10 million for however many tons of was it Alexandrite or something like that? In fact, I'll actually say what's in the hoppers, because you get leftover amounts in the hoppers of the onboard refinery. Alexandrite and Grandidorite, and I think between the two of them I got 10 or 15 million, but that same amount of void opals or low temperature diamonds would have been worth a lot more. We're not really getting any particularly likely prospects, are we? I mean, there is the fact that, you know, we're looking for the rarest stuff, so therefore it's going to be hardest to find. Right, those are just far too yellowy, and I think the wrong shape. That one might be. Let's have a look. I think this one isn't really intense enough, but we'll have a little closer look. I could probably have made a lot more money by this point if I'd spent more time doing this rather than cargo runs or contracts or whatever. But I only have a certain amount of tolerance for doing this over and over again. It's just a bit too lucrative to ignore entirely, though. If you're not doing at least a bit of mining, you're missing out on a lot. Although it almost, the amount of credits I've made versus just from mining, and the ships I've bought as a result of just from mining, versus the amount of time I've played the game as a whole, it honestly doesn't. It kind of seems a bit easy mode, almost. Like it's a pretty big shortcut to getting the bigger ships. Right, this one has got fissures. You see that kind of lighter marking there? That's a fissure. I don't know if it's quite the right colour, but I think the shape is one of the ones that it can be. So we're going to spend a limpet on that. And you never know. And, okay, bunch of fissures. Void opals, bingo. Okay, so the fissures are the giveaway, but you can find other kinds of minerals in asteroids with fissures. So it's kind of the combination of the colour and the shape and the fissures. So void opals are absolutely what we're looking for, and even if I only find one, it's still going to be immensely profitable. Oh, also that looks like Clyde Online. I need the keyboard for this, don't I? Oh, and if I could spell correctly, that would help. So, we haven't had anybody show up and scan us yet, and usually it's happened by now, so I'm going to take the risk and just start mining. So, yeah, seismic charge. We've got two kinds of mining tools that we're using for doing this. The abrasion blaster, which knocks lumps off the surface, and then the mining charge is what you actually use to blow the asteroids apart. Well, ice chunks in this case. And as far as I can tell, you're supposed to match, because you can hold down for higher or lower yield of blast, basically, and you're supposed to try and match that with the information it gives you, the fissure strength. But it doesn't seem like you have to. Really, you're just trying to get the detonation yield that it lists into the blue zone. If it's too high, you'll actually blow the chunks apart too well and end up recovering less material. And there's some trick to using, I don't know, Clyde was trying to, it didn't quite stick in my brain, but you can fire like the wrong strength regardless of the fissure, and you can kind of much more efficiently use your mining charges, which are basically ammo that you have in this particular kind of mining tool. Right, that's a little bit into the red, but it should be fine. It shouldn't really be into the red, so I maybe should have just done a low yield for that one, but never mind. I might lose a little bit of money. It's actually a little further away than I need to be. And let's set off the detonation. No point waiting for the entire thing. So boom, 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 and get a little shockwave, which if you're too close will damage your ship. Now I have to remember to open up the cargo scoop. There we go, if I can remember the right button combo. And I found there's a bit of weirdness with the collectors. If I'm too close, it seems like the collector pathfinding bugs out a bit. And so I've found it's better to sit a bit further back and let the collectors collect all of the chunks of material. And then once they've worked their way through a lot of that, I'm going to start blasting off the remaining bits that are stuck to these chunks of ice. But yeah, there have been a couple of runs where I've gone through, it feels like a dozen or whatever collectors in very short space of time, and then other times they last for almost the entirety of the collection period if I'm sitting a bit further back. So yeah, it seems like the pathfinding's a bit wonky. So let's start blasting off these. Oh, I don't think I can actually hit that one. Aiming, I'm not entirely sure how it's supposed to work. You just keep firing until you hit it. Well, this is in forward fire mode though. I mean, I got the turreted versions which cost more, but I thought, why not? And I've made more than enough credits to not be too cheapskate about it. But presumably if I have it in turreted mode, I can aim a bit more precisely. Right, we'll wait for these chunks of rocks to spin back round and fire the rest off. But that one up there, I'll probably need to go and get myself, because that chunk isn't spinning the way I want it to. So yeah, basically I just sit here and let the drones collect all these up. And sadly, you don't see like each fragment doesn't necessarily represent like 1 ton of material. They feed the fragments into the refinery, and once it goes over, 100%, you've gotten yourself a ton of refined void opals. But you end up with these leftover amounts actually in the refinery bins, the hoppers. Yeah, sadly you don't see it kind of running up, it just flicks up in stages. Right, we can actually... Oh, we can blast that chunk off there, that's fine. I'm not sure what the... Like, if the limpets are run on... They seem to have multiple timers. I think the number of... Like, they must have some kind of health bar anyway. But I think they've also got a lifetime in terms of their fuel, but they also just have a lifetime in terms of if they sit there and do nothing, they still expire after a while. So they seem to be... it's not just they'll last X amount of trips, or they'll last for X amount of minutes. Seems to be multiple things going on. Right, I'm going to have to reposition myself to get these final couple. How are we doing for... These collectors are all still running, okay. Yeah, I figured they must have some kind of health bar. It would explain why sometimes they seem to expire very quickly if the pathfinding messes up and it starts banging into things when you're in close confines. There we go. Oh, we actually have a clear shot at that one now. So it just leaves that one chunk over there. Which we're slightly too far away to get at this point. I'm not going to go very fast just because it gives the collectors time to catch up with me. They're not having to whiz after me at full speed. Right. And we should now have a clear shot. So that's the last bit of this asteroid. But, I mean, aside from going back because I... when I started the stream, I had to go back because I forgot to load up the limpets. Aside from that, it's taken me, what, a good half an hour to find this asteroid? More than that, probably. So, is that one being brought back? Yes, it is. So yeah, it's time consuming. You have to have the patience for this. And I don't always.
So be it. Jedi.
Evil Tim! Dropping in briefly to say hello. Quack! Thank you very much for the resub, Evil Tim. I do appreciate it. Right, I think that's everything that can be collected at this point. So... we'll close the cargo scoop, and it's back to drifting around and pinging away. So that was 13 tons of void opals, which is going to be, I don't even know how many millions, but that's enough to buy some of the mid-sized ships alone. Right, that one there, actually, that's just the right colour. Man, if we found two next to each other, that would be some kind of RNG right there. Yeah, that is exactly the right sort of colour. So if it's got the right, if it's got fissures, it's this kind of red, orange, yellow that you're looking for. Sometimes you find ones that are just the right colour and then they're the wrong shape or they don't have fissures. It's just so tantalising. Right, I think I'm not 100% sure about if I can see fishes or not. I might just waste a prospector on it anyway, just in interests of saving some time deciding whether it is the right sort. And no, that doesn't have a core. So that one's just a tease. It's got absolutely the right colour and it's the right sort of shape, but it did not have any kind of interior. So yeah, no, that obviously didn't have the fishes. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell. Sergeant Cruel, you need to go to the navigation panel and it'll say like tourist beacon in the oh, I should brake, shouldn't I? Let's not smack into the large snowball. You know, on the nav panel it'll have an actual tourist beacon that you have to visit for tourist contracts. Right, that one's going to be a no. See if we can see any others. That one's much too dull, I suspect. I mean, it does sort of pay to err on the side of caution. Right, that one isn't the right sort. In terms of, like, if you're not sure about a particular chunk of ice. I mean, a prospector limpet is, it costs, I think, like 100 credits. I think they're about 100 credits each, something like that. So, it's not like you're throwing all your money away. We've already managed to drift about 100 kilometers away from the center of the hotspot. I don't know how far out it extends, but it was fairly far out. Right, that might be the right sort of shape. Can we see any of the telltale fishes? I don't think it's the right kind of colour, but I'm not entirely certain. Sometimes you don't think it is the right sort of colour and then it turns out actually, yeah, it is. Or it does have. Right, no, I'm going to say no on that one. Pretty sure that one's entirely the wrong shape. You can do this multi-crewed. I've not done it yet. But if you're in a big enough ship, you can have somebody else control the mining equipment. And of course, 2 pairs of eyes is more likely to spot the sort you're looking for. Because when you're pinging away, you can really only see what's in front of you. I'll have a quick shufty at this one, but I don't think that'll be likely. I mean, you never know. And that's maybe a little bit close. It's fine. That's why we have shields. That's what I was saying about the keel back earlier on. One of the things you can do is remove the shields and have another cargo space in there. And to be fair, the keelback is a lot more responsive than this, but even so, if you accidentally smack into something, it's then going to directly damage the ship rather than being absorbed by the shields. Right, I'm going to call a no on that one. That's a very yellowy one there, but I don't think that would be what we want. We'll have a quick look. It's the right sort of intensity. Oh, there we go. Actually, that looks a bit more likely now we're getting closer. And every so often you can see them. I think it's an artifact of as you're moving through how it models the space around you. But yeah, you see the limpets kind of streak ahead and then back to the position underneath the ship, which is slightly weird. Right, we're actually now in sunlight, which helps a little bit in terms of determining. Well, I guess we'll drop a prospector. It's got surface materials. I'm thinking this one's going to be a negative. I don't think we have any fissures, but I might be wrong, because sometimes I'm wrong. And I was very much wrong. So this was definitely worth dropping a prospector on, because that is 100% another opal ice chunk. Right, just open the cargo scoop now while I remember to do so, and hopefully this time we'll be a bit neater about the setting the right charge strength. So we're going to put a high one there just to start with. That's already about half the yield that we need. As long as we're not overcooking it. Right, unfortunately, or annoyingly, it's rather a slow rotating one, so we're going to have to move around ourselves to get the fissures. Oh, that's a low strength. Let's plop like a medium strength one there, and then if we stick on another low strength one, that might give us an overall yield firmly in the blue zone. And there is a little bit of a, like, I was initially annoyed to discover that there was even a timer, but it doesn't actually matter that much, because if I set off the charges right now, it wouldn't necessarily crack it open, but you can then take your time and stick on like an additional charge if one was needed to you know, just get that last bit of explosive force you need to blow the thing open. So if you don't succeed the first time blowing it open, it doesn't necessarily matter. Right, there we go. Fairly in the squarely in the blue zone, so let's back off a bit. And let's blow this bad boy. Point at the target and press T to select it. Okay, I'm using an Xbox controller for controlling the game because I find it just easier in terms of flying around, but there are some things that you need to still know the keyboard shortcuts for, and that sounds like a useful one. Right, so let's get our collector drones doing their business, and start blasting off the surface ones. That's why I occasionally bring up the wrong thing, because some things require multiple button presses. And one or two of the videos I've watched have been people playing with a joystick, and it's kind of unavoidable if you're playing with any sort of peripheral that some things will need to be set to multiple. Oh, that might be slightly too far away to. Yeah, some things will need multiple buttons pressed, especially in VR. Because in VR, of course, you can't see to use the keyboard, so really you do need a joystick for playing with VR. Although you might get away with a gamepad for playing with VR. Oh, accidentally threw the head cam there. How are we doing? Still a fair few. Inventory's filling up nicely. The average price is definitely not representative. Like, you would look at the average price of void opals versus some of the other materials, and you'd think, oh, they're not worth that much, but it's the maximum selling price that matters, of course. Just sometimes you might have to go on a bit of a trip to actually get somewhere where you can sell them for that maximum selling price. That pesky other chunk of ice is just getting in the way. There we go, and I think there's just one more surface deposit, which is rather awkwardly placed. One of the collectors has expired, so we'll stick another one out. Well, actually, I think I'll let the collectors do their business before I get this last deposit. Because once you start getting into more close quarters, that's when they start to apparently bash themselves to death against the rocks, because they just don't pathfind quite well enough. I'm in the Aeneas system, AENEAS, Epic Toast, which it's coincidentally the home system for the squadron turned out to be quite a good mining system. So classy, Tommaso, although that is exactly why Clyde chose this system, because he thought it sounded like anus. But then Clyde's just such a classy guy, as we all know. So classy. Right, we're getting there. Just checking none of them are too far away. That one might be a little far away, actually. I can't remember what the collection range is. If they're too far away, your limpets won't be able to go and get them. I'm hoping that's close enough. Not in imminent danger of expiring, but most of them are starting to get to that point. Right, how are we doing? 24 tons. I mean, at least we're still in the area of space where the systems are vaguely sensibly named. The furthest out I've been at the moment is about 2,000 light years, and you start to get long strings of letters and numbers as the system names. That's all far outside inhabited space, of course. Although there is one very far-flung outpost that was built as part of a previous community goal, which I would like to visit at some point, but it takes a very long time to get there.
Collector limpet expired.
Right, we're down to the last couple of chunks. Right, both well within range. This last collector should be able to collect them. You can see it whizzing around on the radar screen. Although it's hard to tell if it's... Could be a little hard to tell from the radar sometimes. Right, there we go. It's blinking, so it's collected it. And is returning. So there's just one chunk left after it's gotten that. It's actually ahead of me up there somewhere. It's always annoying when you have to fire off another collector just to get that one last chunk. There's some nice midway stations. Oh, right, okay, so you don't have to... You do at least have somewhere to stop and repair and refuel and whatever along the way. I was thinking it was just a straight one-shot... Well, not one-shot, but, you know, a straight jump. Series of jumps. Long series of jumps to get there without any interruption. Although I expect it's still lots and lots of jumping involved. Right, this is already a fairly decent haul. What are we up to? 29 tons. Prospector, yes, that's the one I want. Finding two relatively close to each other was actually decently lucky. Well, that's kind of the right colour. That might be a bit small. I've not seen one that small have stuff before, but I don't know if it's possible. I don't think they'll take an anaconda, but medium pads. I think at the point where I want to go like properly exploring, I'll either outfit my dolphin, which is actually a small size ship but can have a really good range for a small size ship. Well, I want to get one or two more of the frame shift upgrades from the engineers first, and I think I'm a ways off from doing that. But the alternative is I buy one of the more expensive medium-sized ships, like the Mamba, or is it the Viper? I don't know. They cost more than some of the large-sized ships, but as long as you had a fuel scoop and the, I can't remember what you call it, but the self-repair system. As long as you had both a fuel scoop and a self-repair system, they would do. Oh yeah, the limpet, you know, the collector drones and the prospectors, they're physical objects. So you get shadows for them or whatever else. AFMU, yes, I knew it was something. Some kind of acronym. But yeah, the Dolphin at the moment, I've only got the first level of upgrades. It can already do, I think, 32 light years without cargo. So a couple more engineer upgrades on that would be good. And it's got the space, it's got like a size 5 slot that a size 5 AFMU could go on, so that would give it a lot of self-repair capability. And you don't need that big of a fuel scoop on it. Right, that's the right sort of colour and it's the right sort of shape, so we're just going to fire a prospector. I'm not even going to inspect it that closely, although I can already see that, yeah, that has got fissures. So, let's have a look, see.
Asteroid scan complete.
Void opals. We're actually doing alright so far. Seismic charge.
Detonation sequence initiated.
Oh, that kind of glanced off. Never mind. And then let's just do a low strength. I don't want to overcook it. And probably another low strength should do the trick. I still have one of my collected limpets. It's alive somehow. Nope. Just try and hit another fisher. Just wasting all of the charges, but it doesn't matter. I'm not planning on staying out here that long. Right, now apparently we need another one. That wasn't quite enough. If Clyde's watching this, he's probably face-palming quite hard. There we go. Oh, that's actually slightly too high, but never mind. It's only just into the red. Well, this is why I haven't been doing a lot of videos, because my brain's just had about as much
Detonation in 10 seconds.
capacity as a soggy cauliflower. Well, that went boom very satisfyingly. Nope.
Cargo scoop.
Cargo scoop, there we go. And that's the wrong trigger button. That's not even me getting buttons, additional buttons confused. That's me just straight up pressing the wrong button.
Programming liquid drone.
No, did I just fire another prospector? I didn't mean to do that. Goodness sake. I'm going to prospect the thing I already blew up because reasons. Yep. Not that it matters. I usually end up with excess limpets that I just end up throwing away. Because you can't store them. It counts as cargo in terms of the space taken up. So if you switch ships, they're just sat there taking up cargo space on whatever you've switched to. Right, oh, that's actually slightly out the way at the moment. But they're, I mean, they're super cheap though. Limpets, as I was saying earlier, they're like 100 credits a piece or something like that. They
Collector limpet expired.
basically cost nothing.
Programming limpet drone.
So, if you have to do a bit of space littering, it's fine. I don't know what happens if you're in a space station and you discard them. Like, do you just kind of stick them in a trash can? I don't know. They just sort of mysteriously vanish from your cargo hold. In space, no one can hear you facepalm. Well, you know, I have my follow alert be what it is for a reason. Facepalm enrichment facility. I didn't mean to retract that. I'll let the I'll let the collectors finish off before I get these remaining couple of surface deposits. You get fined for littering within 7.5 kilometers of the station. Nice. I've never done that, so I didn't know that was a thing. But it's a nice little detail. What are we up to? 38. This is turning out to be a fairly decent run. I've spent much longer for much less. So clearly the streamer RNG is with me today. If I wait long enough, that one might actually just rotate around on its own. Those two collectors are still going. It's about 800 meters away. No idea what resource unallocated means. I can't even remember what sort of Olympic controller I've got, because that does define how far away they'll go. It's only a 1D. You can probably even look that up right now. Galaxy and outfitting. Why isn't it showing hard point? Okay, it's got the abrasion blaster. It's not actually showing the limpet thingy as a... Oh well, no, maybe it would be optional internal. I'm maybe just looking on the wrong thing. Prospect Olympic controller. Collect Olympic controller. And that doesn't actually give me the range. It just tells me where I can buy it. Never mind. Oh, that means the rock cube picked up a new element in it. Well, if it was not void opals, I'm probably not that interested. Right. And chunk over there. This last collector limpet should get the rest. I think I'll try and do one more and then I might wrap the stream up there. Have I visited any Guardian sites yet? I haven't really done much exploring. Like I said, the furthest I've been out was about 2,000 light years. And that was still, that was like 80 or 90 jumps each way. For anyone that doesn't follow me on Twitter, there is a system out there, and it's probably not that hard to do, but there's a system out there where I'm marked as the first person to actually explore it. Commander Jedi McJedi, the... Oh god, what did I say I was? Jedi McJedi the 24th. There we go. So yeah, if you should happen to come across a system which has a name that consists of a string of letters and numbers that says it was first discovered by Commander Jedi McJedi, that was me. Right, let's retract the scoop because that limits the speed that you have while it's And deployed. $45. So that, bear in mind, we're talking 1.5, 1.6 million credits per ton. Right, that's a likely looking chunk of ice. In fact, both of those look quite possible.
Programming lead drone. Prospector limpet engaged.
And that's a no.
Asteroid scan complete.
Okay. That one I think is the wrong shape. We'll have a closer look. That one's the right sort of shape, but I guess it didn't have the fissures. Sometimes the colour is, oh, it's just right, and you get excited. And then some of the other stuff doesn't line up. It turns out to be a total dud. Because we're just doing the fast way, we're just going to fire another prospector.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
And that one is also a no,
Asteroid scan complete.
which we thought was likely. I'm one of the first 100 people to visit Sagittarius A. Gosh, how long did that take you? That would have been before all the engineer stuff, right? So you wouldn't have been able to extend the range of your jump drives. Sagittarius A, by the way, that's the supermassive black hole that sits at the heart of our galaxy. Although in terms of supermassive black holes, I don't think it's that particularly big. There are larger ones out there. In a Cobra. That took you a solid week. Yeah, that sounds about right. That would be a lot of just jump, scoop fuel, align with the vector, jump, scoop fuel, align with the vector, jump, and so on and so forth, hundreds of times. No, that's not the right sort, is it? That one might be. I don't know if it's the right shape. Hang on, have we got any mods on? I don't think we do at the moment. Right, hang on, let me just give you a link permission.
Collector limpet expired.
There we go. Moobot won't rap you on the knuckles for being a naughty boy. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's not what we're looking for. Coloration wasn't too far off, but no fissures. That's not a million miles from the right colour, but it's not quite intense enough. Oh, that one there looks good though. It's definitely the right sort of colour. I'm carrying more than enough limpets to waste a few on duds. Right, oh, that's me having clicked on a deposit. That's a no. That one doesn't have a core. Mostly water. Just a couple of surface deposits. I mean, you can with the smaller ship just do surface deposit mining because the abrasion blaster only requires a single slot. It's a lot less profitable, but you don't have to. You don't have to carry the whatchamacallit, the charge launcher. Well, there's a maybe. Little bobby tables. I see we have some XKCD readers in the chat. Right, that one looks highly likely. So let's fire a prospector. Ah, no, it doesn't have a core. There are a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't have a core. So, no fissures. Some of the names that people have used for their accounts definitely, they definitely don't add to the immersion at all. Don't think I've seen anything quite as bad as Commander IP Freely, but yeah, some of them don't pass well, especially when you're looking at people who've discovered one of the first people to get into a system. But it's like Commander XXX Sephiroth 69XXX. I don't think I've seen any that are quite that bad, but there's some pretty ripe ones. Oh. Don't want to overcook the accelerator too much. This thing isn't that responsive. I have a feeling this is one that might be a dud. I'm not seeing any obvious fissures. Although that might be one there. I'm not sure actually. This is a maybe. Ah, fissures. Yes, this has fissures. And Alexandrite. Is it worth getting Alexandrite? I can't remember if this is one of the one of the more valuable ones or not. No, it's benitoite, I think, is the most valuable. But it's still a maximum of 500,000 a ton. I think this one is just for the sake of doing something rather than sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I'm going to say we'll mine this one. It's worth enough to be worth my time.
Detonation sequence initiated.
Right, I think another medium strength should do it. Oh, I think that might have been a low strength actually. Slightly undercooked it. But never mind, we have charges to spare. And there we go.
Detonation in 10 seconds. Cargo scoop deployed.
Right. Boom, 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 boom.
Programming limpet drone.
I totally meant to ping just then. It wasn't me. Again, hitting the wrong button. Because as we've proved time and time again, I wouldn't do that. I always do exactly what I mean to do when I'm playing games. An asp, not a cobra, and you didn't have a power distributor or a shield. How do you get by without a power distributor? I thought that was an essential component. The shield, though, yeah, that is a bit living dangerously. Although if you're flying carefully, it's, you know, it's entirely possible to do without. That one's tricky because it's at a bit of an oblique angle. There we go. So yeah, this stuff's not quite as valuable. It's only about a third of the price of void opals, but it's still a couple of million in the bank. So why not? But yeah, you do sometimes. You'll be looking for void opals, and you'll get these ones that are false positives. They're the right colour. It's got fissures. It's the right shape. And it turns out to be something else. I think there's just one or two more surface deposits.
Limpet expired. Programming limpet drone.
Now, as I've previously mined Alexandrite, I think I've got one of the hoppers already. Yeah, it's already processing it, so that's fine. Really, only the main downside of picking up a different sort of stuff than void opals is it means I'm going to have to jump to two different systems to sell it in the end. But I think what I'll do is I'll find wherever is the best price for void opals at the moment and just do that before the end of the stream. I can find it on this list. Right, the current selling price at the home station is actually not bad, but it's still a fair ways below the best possible. If I swap ships, however, back at Rousseau Ring, I can get nearly 1.7 million credits at the moment for a station with a medium landing pad. Because this is a big ship, so I won't actually be able to go there. Right, the collectors are still up and running. See you, Hildebrand. Thanks for tuning in. I think this might be my last asteroid for the evening. Anyway. It's not going to be a hugely long stream, this one, but if nothing else, I can point to it and show Clyde that I at least sort of understand what I'm doing when it comes to mining. Yeah, no, the crate is classed as a large. Well, the crate Mark II is anyway. I'm not sure about the crate. This is a Mark II. Right, that should be all the surface deposits. Yep, just the last couple of little chunks of material. And what I can do right now, while I remember... Well, I'll make sure we don't need any more. Well, actually, no. What's my total... No, that's fine. I can take my Type 6. I might do some more mining tomorrow or something. But yeah, if I take my Type 6, which is like 100 tons of space, that'll take the remaining limpets. Right, there's one chunk left. There we go. No valid collection target, so that means it's gotten everything it needs to. So we can just boost out of here, go back to Rousseau, swap ships, and go and sell what I've got and see exactly how much I can get for 45 tons of void opals. It's a bit weird that the proximity lights flash even when you're well away from anything. I think the proximity sensor or the proximity warning is a bit buggy in this game. It sometimes flashes at you when there's nothing nearby. Right, good, we're not mass locked any longer. And I've done it again. Well done me. Set Rousseau Ring. Oh, yeah, I also need to withdraw the hard points. Right, good luck keeping up with me in Super Cruise limpet drones. Oh, it's the limpets. Oh, that would make sense. It's sort of daft that the limpets set it off, but that would actually make sense as to why it was doing it. But there do still seem to be times when it flashes at you when it shouldn't necessarily be flashing at you. But again, maybe there's some reason I'm not thinking of. Just coasting in. Actually, you know what? We will dump the rest of those limpets because it'll improve my jump range when I'm in the... can I do that just now? No, I want to do it for all of them. Jettison, abandon. There we go. Space littering! It's for winners. When is Jedi going to hunt down the wedding cruise ship? Wait, what? Is there some kind of special, particular I'm going to guess when you say cruise ship, it's like a beluga or an orca. Is there some kind of special event ship that you can go and track down?
Delay stage has Echo Delta.
I don't have a landing computer on this, so
Follow station protocols and enjoy.
I can't just take my hands off the wheel and let it do it for me, sadly. But the only ship I have got that on so far is the Type 9. Because it's a pain in the arse to do it manually with that thing. It's so sluggish.
4-1.
Okay, apparently I have to go and crash a wedding ship at some point. Maybe quite literally crash it, I don't know. Is there some kind of special event tied to it? Or is it just something you can go and look at?
Visual acquired. Heading is good.
I wish not to smash into the station or anybody trying to ingress or egress the station, so that's always a plus. Right, pad 41, which is right by the entrance.
Landing gear deployed.
Kathronk, there we go. Very graceful,
Secured.
as I always am. Right, shipyard. And let's take out the MV Munich. As I've named it. Again, named after a ferry of the Calmac fleet. It wasn't actually a ferry. That it was one. It was a ship they leased that ran the freight for a while. It wasn't technically one of their, like, it wasn't a ship they'd had built and launched just for them. So there's all the stuff I mined, and we actually have to go to a system I've been to before, so it's going to be 4 or 5 jumps. I'll remind myself of the name. Wachosi. Actually, that's going to be more than a couple of jumps. I'm sure I've been to this one before. Well, in fact, it'll tell us exactly how many jumps. 7 jumps. There we go. But I have got a fuel scoop, I think. So I should be fine. I'll just double check that before I actually leave. Yes, 2A fuel scoop. So let's go and sell and see exactly how much profit I'm going to make. Although you can kind of do the calculation for yourselves. It's 1,000, no, not 1,000, 1,687,669 credits. I think I've read that number out slightly wrong, but you know what I mean. 687,000 rather than 687. They're just shy of 1.7 million credits each. I suppose I could have taken my newly bought Type 7, not Type 7, Type 9 out for a spin, but that would have been entirely overkill. And this has a better jump range anyway. At the moment, in fact, I can even look up what my current max jump range is. 23. It's much better without any cargo, but 23 is better than I'd have with the Type 7 right now. Should be more like 21, 20, something like that.
Frameshift drive charging.
No thanks, math's too hard for a Sunday evening. Yeah, I don't blame you. We may get interdicted on the way, but it'll only be AI because this is in the private group session. I haven't played that much on the in public. A little bit. I was actually in the Sol system for a while in open play, and was slightly surprised to see that I was the only human player. I kind of thought there'd be a bit more human controlled traffic around, but apparently not.
Frameshift drive charging.
Well, that's about the maximum kind of jump I can make at the moment. It'll be a lot quicker jumping back, but I won't make you watch that. I think once I've solved these, I'll wrap the stream up there. Actually, might do a bit more fuel scooping at this one. The main limitation is getting too hot, actually, in this ship. I can't remember if that 2A scoop is actually in a size 2 optional slot. I think it might be. I don't think I can fit a bigger scoop to this one without sacrificing cargo space. Right, oh, it's starting to heat up a bit, so let's pull away.
Fuel scoop disengaged. Frameshift drive charging.
Well, you can buy, you know, in terms of outfitting, in terms of buying ships, Sol is like there's so many stations in the Sol system. But yeah, I suppose from a gameplay perspective, there's nothing otherwise special about it. There's plenty of other systems that are quite dense with stations. Although I've never seen any planets outside of Earth itself have more than one station, because you've got 3 stations around Earth and then another station around the Moon. And there's also, I think, stations on just about every other planet in the system as well. Including Mercury. Mercury has its own full-size station. It's not one of those tiddly little ones. No, it's a full-sized... I don't know what you call it. It's not one of the Coriolis stations, but one of the kind of ring stations. I don't know if there's any of the planets in the Sol system you can land on. Might be a bit of sightseeing you can do, I don't know. Orbis, that sounds about right. Yeah, an Orbis station. One of the ones that reminds me a little bit of Babylon 4. See you, Foo. Thanks for joining. Oh, so you can actually go and visit the Voyager Space Probe. That's not just an advert that's made up for a bit of background flavour. You can land on Mercury and some of the moons, but not the moon. Okay. Mercury seems like it'd be a bit hot, but I suppose if your ship can handle it, then it's fine. Hey, Morellian. You're joining us kind of towards the end of the stream. I'm on my way to sell a cargo hold full of void opals. Well, not quite full, but still 45 tons. A little bit of alexandrite as well. If you looked at that list, you'd think, oh, alexandrite, that's much more valuable than void opals. But it's just because there's a bigger range of prices for void opals. There's a much bigger gap between the maximum and the minimum. The maximum is a lot more than the max you'll get for Alexandrite. Well, apparently I've not been to this system before. Right, I think it's what, 2 more hops? Yes, 2 jumps.
Frameshift drive charging.
I'm not even in a particularly exciting ship at the moment. It's basically a space transit van. It's a useful one to keep in your storage, I guess. I don't know what you'd call your stored ships other than just to say that they're in storage, but you know, keep parked in your garage, I suppose you could put it that way. I don't know if there are any medium ships that can carry a bigger tonnage than this. There we go, Ochosi system. There's been a bit of rambling, I suppose, Marillion. Nothing special, though. How is space? Vast, empty, cold, unless you happen to be next to a star, in which case, a little bit warmer. A Python can, a Python's much more expensive. Okay, is that medium-sized? I'm not quite au fait with all of the ships yet. I'd have thought the hauler would be more like the Robin Reliant. It's the right sort of shape. Oh, well, I didn't mean to show the outside of the ship, but you can see for yourself. It's sort of grey, not quite painted white, but this is just the default colour scheme for this ship. I've not actually bought any of the colours, the colour schemes. Right, Perry's Folly. I'm pretty sure that's where I'm supposed to be going. Does it have free candy painted on the side? No. Sadly not. You could call a ship the Free Candy, though, and if you paid Frontier the actual money required to then have your name on the side of your ship, you could indeed have a white ship that said Free Candy on the side of it. It is possible. One thing there isn't for this game is any kind of outfitting tool like there is for World of Warships, or even the in-game tools you get for World of Tanks. So you just kind of have to remember what can go in what kind of slot in terms of capacities and tonnage and ranges. Got 1 week ban from Forza Horizon for having free candy written on the side of a van. That seems an unusually harsh punishment, considering it some kind of mild considering all the other things you could have written on the side of a van, but anyway. Probably not, Morellian. After I sell this load of void opals, I'm going to call it quits for the evening. We're getting on for 2 hours anyway, which is not a bad length of stream. It's not especially a long stream, but considering that it would have been just more drifting along the ice rings and occasional actual mining, it would have been stretching it a bit, I think. You checked the rules and it said free candy specifically was banned. Okay. Oh, there is a ship planner tool. Okay, yeah, hang on a second. I think I've got time to tab out and permit you again. Oh, okay, we might overshoot slightly as a result of that, but never mind. Angle up and then back down again. Of course, you're covering more space, so it's more time to slow down. Let's save disengage. Ready? Now, hopefully, it doesn't just go request denied, request denied, request denied, request denied over and over again, as sometimes they do. Because the medium landing pad is occupied. Yep, it would appear that, in fact, the medium landing pad is occupied. Excellent. Also, I don't think I've seen this particular kind of station before. Right, pad 3. That is the pad I want. So we basically just have to sit here and watch for it being used or unused. Oh, slightly the wrong place for the contacts panel. Right, so whoever that bozo is hogging my spot. Edward Wilde. I'm going to sit here and glare at you menacingly until you conclude your business. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this sort of station before. Unless I have, and it's just the fact that it's in the dark that's kind of not quite letting me see what sort it is. Watch iChase's latest. I've seen a couple of people reference that, so I might have to go and watch iChase's video after I'm done playing. Right, hopefully that's just turning around for launch, because sometimes they disappear inside and it's a bit annoying. Right, well, we didn't have to wait too long. Oh, come on! I'm staring at the thing. He's gone. He's taken off. He's not there anymore. There we go. I think you have to wait until it's not given the landing marker anymore. But still, if there's an opportunity for me to shake my virtual fist, then I will do so. Oh, the stations are modular and semi-random. Oh, okay. I didn't realise they could work like that. Oh, that they did work like that. I thought there was kind of fixed patterns, but I guess it's more like there's fixed module. Not templates. What's the word I'm looking for? Fixed styles. And they're semi-randomised within those styles. That would make sense. Right, so Starport Services. Hey, Jiggles. How long have you been lurking for, I wonder? Let's see how many millions I can get. So I'm sitting on 84 million at the moment. And I've scrolled way past, haven't I? Void opals. I wonder if they also take alexandrite. They do. That's actually a decent price for that, so we'll sell them both here. So that alone is going to get me 7.1 million. And then void opals. Now this is the good stuff. 74 million. So I haven't quite doubled the amount of cash I had, but it's not far off. So yeah, that's why you want to be mining void opals. Oh, looking in the wrong place to get that panel. So I'm up to now 165 million. There's not much in the game I can't buy with that level of money. I'm not going to be buying anything right away though. Although at some point I'd like to get what is it? The Mamba? Or was it the Fer de Lance? I can't remember. No, the third lance is a large one. It was either the Mamba or the Python I was looking at. Both of which are medium-sized ships. I think it was the Mamba, because the Mamba's nice and fast. And it's only a medium-sized ship, but I don't know what I'd do with it exactly. Or I could go the other way. I could buy a Beluga, which is basically a passenger liner. Or, hell, I think I've got enough to buy an Anaconda at this point, which is the biggest civilian ship you can get. I think the only more expensive ones than that are ones that belong to factions. So I do have the crate already. I've already got a fairly decent all-round mid-size, large-size ship that I can do things with. So, yeah, that's me done for the evening, I think. I'll put you in the hands of, well, Rocketology. Or PC Rocket Gamer as he once was, playing Kerbal Space Program. So you can go and watch somebody else doing space things that aren't quite these space things, but they're still space things. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I hope you maybe have even learned something, maybe. Although, if you are watching me do mining, you probably already know how it works. But anyway. So yeah, have a good evening wherever you are, and I hope to catch you next time.